Music is very effective in producing a deep and a healing state of relaxation.
Now let's try and understand the process in a more scientific manner. Our brain experiences 4 different types of waves, namely alpha wave, beta wave, theta wave, and delta wave. The muscle and nerves of the affected area are contracted when a music note is given and relaxed between the interval of the 2 music notes.
If music is having so much of effect on my body, mind and soul, I'm sure, because coming from the medical background, I thought that music would definitely have an effect on patients and other people also. So I started doing experiments.
We all of us must agree that 75% of our diseases are psychosomatic. They are related from the mind.
Over the next 5 minutes, my intention is to transform your relationship with sound. Let me start with the observation that most of the sound around us is accidental and much of it is unpleasant. We stand on street corners shouting over noise like this and pretending that it doesn't exist. Well, this habit of suppressing sound has meant that our relationship with sound has become largely unconscious. There are 4 major ways sound is affecting you all the time, and I'd like to raise them in your consciousness today. The second way in which sound affects you is psychological. Music is the most powerful form of sound that we know that affects our emotional state. This is guaranteed to make most of you feel pretty sad if I leave it on. Music is not the only kind of sound, however, which affects your emotions. Natural sound can do that too. Birdsong, for example, is a sound which most people find reassuring. There's a reason for that. Over hundreds of thousands of years, we've learned that when the birds are singing, things are safe. It's when they stop you need to be worried.
And we'll set the sound at 24 hertz, and we'll have our camera at 24 frames per second. So we'll have like this water source, hose, and when the water goes, and we'll have a tube, and when the water goes through the tube, when it comes out, it will look like the water is going in a zigzag. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So these are the things that we'll need for our experiment. You'll need a tube that fits your hose, and you'll need a subwoofer and a tone simulator. This goes here, then the water goes here, up here, then it falls down. Your tube should be touching the speaker.
All right. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Can I do it? Yes?
try 25 hertz.
25? Okay.
Try 24. So 24 freezes it.
What? What did you say? Is that 24?
Into a liquid, and that's what we're going to witness here today. This is a water droplet that you're going to see, and in this water droplet, a frequency is being pumped into this water droplet. As the frequency is mirrored in the droplet, you'll actually see the geometric patterns in that droplet. Now what's happening, and the reason that this is so significant, is because we're going to do a frequency sweep. We're going to go from low frequencies to higher frequencies. And what you'll find is this. You'll see that in the lower frequencies, the patterns are less complex. And in the higher frequency, the patterns are more complex. So we're going through a sweep from lower to higher frequency. I'm sharing this with you now because Earth is essentially going through a frequency sweep. Our fundamental pulse, our base pulse that has hovered around 7.8 cycles per second, now is changing. And again, there's a lot of controversy about what the change is, and we're witnessing the change. As we go through our planetary shift of this pulse, patterns of energy must change to respond to that, just as patterns of energy in this water are changing to respond to this pulse. And we'll begin with simply the concentric patterns in the water as the frequency begins. Every once in a while, we'll reach a key threshold resonance, such as that moment right there. And in that key threshold resonance, the entire pattern morphed into a more complex expression of itself, simply because the frequency changed. Now watch what happens. The frequency is still increasing. And watch what happens. As we reach another key threshold resonance, this entire pattern will morph into a beautifully and more complex pattern of itself, again and again. And look at this pattern right here. Look what you're seeing right here. Look at the beautiful geometry. Here is a perfect cube. There's a perfect tetrahedron, a star tetrahedron. In 2 dimensions, we've got the octahedron. Very powerful images of sacred geometry held in place simply because we've achieved the vibratory pattern that allows that in this water droplet. And as the vibration increases, these patterns will become more and more complex. You can see the pulse from where you are. Can you see the pulse actually in the water? As we go into the last set of the frequencies, what you'll see is that the entire, and you'll watch along the outer perimeter, the entire pattern reaches its greatest level of complexity, and then it goes back, as the frequencies drop, it goes back to what it was, the concentric circles, as it was originally. It almost looks alive. You know, you've been offered many times the concept that thought is vibration. Have you ever considered that emotion is vibration? Feeling is vibration. We are always feeling something. We are always emoting something. We may not always be aware of what that is. We carry those patterns with us. As we hold a feeling and an emotion, what we're doing is we are holding a vibratory pattern in the liquid crystal of our bodies.
भी जो जापान के साइंटिस्ट की रिसर्च, कईयों को इसके बारे में पता है कि वाटर के क्रिस्टल्स बना दिए गए और बस उस पर फर्क इतना ही था कि सिर्फ नाम अलग लिखा था कि मैं तुमसे प्यार करता हूँ। एक बॉटल पर लिखा कि मैं तुम्हारे से नफरत करता हूँ, एक बॉटल पर मदर टेरेसा लिखा, एक पर हिटलर लिखा, और फिर उसके क्रिस्टल बना करके जैसे एमआरआई करते, जैसे स्पेशल उसको माइक्रोस्कोप के नीचे उसकी एमआरआई की गई, तो देखा कि भाई जिस पर लिखा था आई हेट यू, वहाँ वाइब्रेशंस दूर दूर जा रहे हैं, वो नजीक क्रिस्टल्स नजदीक में
क्रिस्टल बना ही नहीं ना, क्रिस्टल बनता ही नहीं है। एंड जो पीसफुल वाइब्रेशंस के एकदम क्लियर डिफाइंड शार्प क्रिस्टल्स बने हैं।
योने भी बहुत अच्छा उसका एक इंटरप्रेट, हिटलर लिखा था, उसमें वह अणु नजदीक आ नहीं कोशिश कर रहे थे लेकिन आ नहीं पा रहे थे। तो उन्होंने ये कहा कि भले हिटलर बहुत खराब व्यक्ति था, लेकिन कहते कोर जो उनका है ना अच्छा है, जो ब्रह्मा कुमारी में मानते हैं कि भी आत्मा की जो ओरिजिनल क्वालिटी वो अच्छी है, भले एक्वायर्ड कुछ भी हो, तो ओरिजिनली वो अच्छा व्यक्ति था, पर उसने बहुत बुरे काम किए। तो इस प्रकार से वाइब्रेशंस की क्रिस्टल्स पर कितने इफेक्ट होती है।
I'm Andrew, and today I'm doing Master Emoto's rice experiment. In this experiment, we have 2 containers of rice, and on each container, we're going to write different words. On this one, I have written, I hate you, evil, stupid, you fool, idiot, die. On the second container, I have written, I love you, beautiful, peace, thank you, kindness, compassion, gratitude. Okay, the idea behind this experiment is that since water is affected by our emotions and intentions and thoughts, since rice soaks up water while it is being cooked, by the way, this is cooked rice, our intentions and words that are written on the container will affect the rice in either a negative way or a positive way. And since the water is being affecting the rice, the negative rice will rot faster than the positive rice. So that's the outcome we hope to get in this experiment. Hey, it's been 3 weeks since I started the experiment, the Master Emoto rice experiment, and let's look at the results. So here is the positive rice. It looks in pretty good shape. This is the negative rice. And it has a lot of mold, especially compared to the positive rice. Negative rice, positive rice, both taken from the same bowl. So that's the rice experiment. Thank you guys for watching.
हम सब ये तो जानते हैं कि एक दिन में हम 30,000 से 60,000 विचार करते हैं, परंतु आमतौर पर हम ये सोचते हैं कि भी विचार कोई इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, परंतु सबसे पहली मुख्य बात तो यह है कि विचारों में भी जीवन है. नो थॉट्स ऑल्सो हैव अ लाइफ, तो इसलिए उसको कोई ऑर्डिनरी चीज हम ना समझें.
थॉट्स हैव अ
लाइफ आई फील, क्योंकि आत्मा से निकले विचार. तो सोल इज एनर्जी, तो उसकी थोड़ी तो एनर्जी उसमें भी होगी. नहीं, एक सचमुच एक सटल एनर्जी है थॉट्स भी, और वो थॉट्स जैसे है वैसे ही वातावरण भी बनता है, और थॉट्स उस चीज को अट्रैक्ट करते हैं. जो आप सोच रहे हैं उसी प्रकार के प्रकंपन वातावरण में फैलते हैं, और फिर उस चीज को आप अट्रैक्ट करते हैं. इसलिए कहा गया है कि यू ग्रेविटेट इन द डायरेक्शन ऑफ योर डोमिनेंट थॉट्स. जो आप बार बार सोचते हो उसी दिशा में आप आगे बढ़ते हो.
तो मतलब हम बार बार कई बार डर रहे होते हैं, तो वो हो भी सकता है.
बिल्कुल हो सकता है ना,
क्योंकि हम बार बार, अगर आप थॉट्स ही तो क्रिएट कर रहे हैं ना, हमें डर है, फियर है, तो वो हम संभव भी कर सकते हैं.
हाँ, वो सचमुच होता है. आज व्यक्ति बीमारी के बारे में सोचता है और वैसे बीमार होता है. ये भी माना गया है कि आज लोग एक्सीडेंट्स के बारे में जो बार बार सोचते हैं वो सचमुच एक्सीडेंट से मीट करते हैं. उसी प्रकार का, क्योंकि थॉट्स आर रियल. वो वातावरण में उस चीज को क्रिएट करते हैं. कहते हैं कि थॉट्स हैव अ मैग्नेटिक पावर. जैसे मैग्नेट आयन को अट्रैक्ट करता है, ऐसे थॉट्स है वो परिस्थिति को अट्रैक्ट करते हैं. और जो महत्वपूर्ण बात समझने की है,
तो पासा पलट दिया. आपने तो हमारे पर डाल दिया सारा कुछ.
सबसे पहले तो ये महत्वपूर्ण बात दूसरी बहुत ही जरूरी चीज है कि जो भी आपको फीलिंग्स होती है, अच्छी या बुरी, आप दुख की फीलिंग करते या सुख की फीलिंग करते, उसका फाउंडेशन आपके थॉट है। कई लोग कहते ऐसे मैं गुस्से में आ गया या ऐसे मैं डिप्रेस्ड हो गया, एटलीस्ट सबकॉन्शियसली तो थॉट था, लेकिन ये तो एक्सेप्ट करो कि भी कोई ना कोई विचार है। भले आज से 10 साल पहले जो घटना हो गई उसका कोई विचार है, एक अर्ध जागृत रूप में वो विचार आ रहा है, पर विचार जरूर है। वह जब हम एक्सेप्ट करेंगे तो फिर उसको ढूंढ भी सकेंगे।
Music. He is trying to figure out why some brains can't decode music at all, while others are sensitive to the slightest musical nuance.
In general, I'm a Bach lover and have always been. You know, even when I was a kid, when I was 5, I'm told that I was asked what my favourite things in the world were, and I said smoked salmon and Bach. And 70 years later, it's still pretty much the same.
In his quest, Dr. Sachs is offering himself up as a test subject. A team of neuroscientists at Columbia University have designed a test that will reveal if the brain of Dr. Sachs loves Bach as much as he does.
And roll back and forth.
Hal Hinkle gives Dr. Sachs a device to rate his emotions, while at the same time, a scan will record the activity of his brain. He'll hear two pieces of music, one by Bach and one by Beethoven. First the Bach, then the Beethoven. The composers are different, but the music shares certain qualities.
Oliver, that completes the first emotional scan. I would like to hear how that was for you.
The Bach sort of blew me away, especially that point where the soprano came in and there was a wonderful harmonic modulation. But the Beethoven, I'm afraid, sort of left me flat.
The results of the scan amazingly seem to confirm his feelings.
What you can see just in an immediate overview here is that this is your Bach brain and this is your Beethoven brain.
Sorry, Ludwig.
Yeah, sorry, Ludwig. There's not much there.
Bach clearly excited much of his brain, including the many regions essential to appreciating the complexity of music. But unlike Beethoven, Bach activated the amygdala, which is vital to processing emotions.
Here we see large activity associated with the right amygdala when you're listening to Bach. There is none of that when you are listening to this very comparable piece in Beethoven.
But during another part of the test, Dr. Sachs was unable to distinguish Bach from Beethoven.
Again, we'd like to hear what your response was to it.
Well, I'm sort of confused. I could hardly differentiate Bach from Beethoven, and none of it seemed to move me very much.
But his brain tells a different story.
The remarkable finding for you was even when you might have thought it was Beethoven,
Even when I was confused.
your brain can tell Bach from Beethoven.
Dr. Sachs clearly favors Bach over Beethoven. Even when he couldn't tell them apart, the brain scan on the left still shows increased activity. So in fact, his brain recognizes the difference and makes its preference clear.
So my brain knows even when I don't.
That's the conclusion.
Right.
Your brain can distinguish them even when you don't.
Uh-huh.
Today, that was rock guitarist Dave Navarro, who's played with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nine Inch Nails, and Jane's Addiction. So what is the physiologic response, Dr. Shears?
Physiologic response to music. You know, it's really funny. My dad, when I was in high school trying to get into listening to rock and roll, he used to talk about, he's a physician, he used to say, you know, there's a lot of physiological effects about music, and make sure you listen to the right stuff. But, you know, it can, you know, relax yourself, it can help decrease depression, help relieve stress. But there's actually, it's been studied a lot, and there's been some studies show it can actually decrease pain in chronic arthritis patients. It can decrease your blood pressure. Just simply listening to classical music for 30 minutes a day can lower your blood pressure. Patients that are post-stroke, that have had a stroke, if they are allowed to listen to their favorite music, whether it's pop or classical, it will actually help their memories.
And it probably depends on the case, because what's interesting about music is it can at one point relax you or energize you. Let's say you're working out. Has anyone ever been working out and the earbud falls out and the music's gone all of a sudden? It's like, well, this workout isn't so much fun anymore.
Liposuction is definitely something like Michael Jackson. You gotta, you know,
exactly.
You need a little giddy up. If you're doing more of a facelift kind of thing, it's more methodical.
And we use music for our own purposes on this show, because most of you at home, you don't know unless you've actually been to a taping of our show. But before we come out, before the start, we get the audience warmed up with some good, energizing music. And you all don't know this, but when you were dancing today before the show, we were taping you. In fact, a few of you in particular, we wanted to see how the music makes them feel. We put a few of them on the spot. Take a look.
You feel? Were you energized? Were you amped up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Full energy.
You look like you were just going. You were rocking. Yeah, you had some awesome moves. We were watching you. How about you guys? Did you have a magical, musical moment there?
Yeah.
And I assume you're
I always
friends.
feel so energized when I listen to music.
You know each other, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And you know what? The whole crowd did a great job dancing pregame.